question. So if you're getting the interview, you can wear a little bit less because that means you're qualified already. They're looking to see if you fit in with their company and something like that. And always go in confident because you don't want to shit lie on something that you're not confident, you're not performing for.
So one of the first ways to overcome a fear is by actually having a plan. A fear can seem really daunting at first, but if you write everything down and break it down into steps, it becomes much easier to overcome. And then right after you make a plan, you want to use that momentum that you have from figuring everything out into taking action and jumping right into that plan. Taking off little check boxes, if you set that up and break it down into smaller chunks, those smaller chunks add up to big chunks really fast. So it's also important to remember to take breaks. When you're dealing with your fears, you can become overwhelmed and you might lose that momentum that you have. So if you just take a step back, go to the gym, go take a walk. I personally like to designate time to go dancing. Dancing's awesome. Then sometimes those breaks can even help you with the next step, getting inspired. If you lose ideas or you can't think of anything, a lot of times stepping back and looking at everything again can help you get that inspiration. You could even look at people in your life that inspire you, what they've done. You could talk to them, just things like that. So this is a fear of rejection. If you just take a step back from that, you can look at everything. Why might you think this person will reject you? Plan for that. If you don't think that you have the qualifications, maybe plan to do a volunteer experience or an externship or one of the other resume builders, and that might help you feel more comfortable and fear of rejection less.
Another thing with that is, I was talking to a guy on the phone the other day. He works for US Bank, and he was telling me that you're going to get rejected, and it doesn't matter. What you got to do is get back out there and apply to the next job and keep on it and keep on it and keep on it. And eventually, you'll get that job.
So the fifth way to overcome fears is to remember past successes. You've likely not failed at everything you've done. If you had, you probably wouldn't be in this room. So think back on what you succeeded on and what you did to succeed in those circumstances. You will fail, but that doesn't mean you haven't succeeded. The sixth step is to keep options. So for recommendations, make sure you have multiple people that you're going to ask to recommend. One may not have the time, one may not feel like they know you well enough. So have that extra person to go to and ask. And you can never have too many recommendations if all of them agree anyways. And then the seventh step is to compare wisely. You're likely seeing a lot of people that have more successes than you in life, that have probably gone longer through them. And that's hard to look at yourself and say, oh, well, I'm not there yet. But make sure that you understand that. Compare yourself to your peers and people that are similar to you, but realize you have different backgrounds, different strengths, and just because your weakness is their strength doesn't mean you don't have another. And make sure you step back and regain perspective. And that goes with taking breaks. When you take a break, you get a second to look back on yourself and look at other people and say, okay, this is where they are, this is where I am, and feel comfortable with where you are.
I know for me personally, I'm in some pretty challenging math classes even right now, and I'm really struggling, and sometimes I can't figure out the problem, and I've been working on it, the same problem for like an hour, and then I'll take a minute, I'll go to the gym, I'll go take a walk, and I come back and it's like, well, that was easy, I just had this integral wrong. Or just something really simple in the math problem that makes everything easier.
So, a fear you might have is public speaking. So we're up here public speaking. Incidentally, I'm an introvert. I refreshed by not being around people, but here there are 30 of you in a room, and I feel perfectly fine. So make sure that when you're following the steps, you plan accordingly. We met a few times before coming and doing this presentation. That you take breaks. We didn't meet every day leading up to this presentation from the day we were told we were going to do it. We'd make time to do things we like. Compare wisely. There are CAs like Zach who have been here a lot longer than I have. But I know that when I take the time to be here as long as Zach has and work on my public speaking, I will get better. And also, if you're interested in learning how to public speak, join clubs and organizations that make you public speak, like the CAs and like any of the others that would require that, because you're only going to get better through practice.
So by whom do you want references from? You don't want to just get a reference from anyone. You want to get it from someone who knows you a little bit more personally, someone who can speak to your character, speak to your abilities as well. So just because you did well in a class doesn't mean you should maybe ask that professor for a recommendation. Maybe he saw you dozing off one day and you don't want to put that in there. So try to identify some of the professionals that you know in your life and then go through like, hey, who do I have a personal relationship with who would be willing to write me an awesome letter of recommendation? So for me, personally, that would be someone like my high school soccer coach who I also travel with internationally, still keep up with. So he's someone who would write something down for like, oh, I was captain of varsity, blah, blah, blah. And then he would say something to the effect of my schoolwork as well. So he can speak kind of both sides as well as kind of my international travel, maybe something like that would make me a little more diverse. So just look for somebody who can speak not only to your abilities but also to your character. So why are relationships important? Does anybody know?
This can be a friendship,
Anything.
yeah.
85% of jobs, I think it went up since last year
Mhm.
when we were presenting, but last year was 80. 85% of jobs were gotten through networking. So look at the people around you in this room. 85% of you guys are going to get your first job through knowing someone, and that's it. Odds are pretty good at that point. So start building your relationships as early as possible. If you're not on LinkedIn, hop on there. It's a great way to just start reaching out to people, and it's very casual as well if you don't want to keep up with it every day.
I actually got my on-campus job through just, I went to visit a friend who worked at the craft center, and we ended up going around and I helped pick up and everything, and the person watching and supervising was like, do you want to get paid to clean? And I was like, heck yes I do. And so now I work at the craft center. It's nice.
And I started where you guys are right now, and then I met that dude in the back right there, Ben. He's the man, and he's the reason why I applied for this, and I love it. And so that's just another reason why relationships are great. So how to develop the relationships? That's the hard part. Everybody knows that you need the relationships now, but how can you make those? You're gonna have to put yourself out there a little bit. Reach out to somebody, talk to them. Pay attention when they're talking to you. It really goes a long way with that person. These are a quick few ways that you can go. Office hours, you get right in with the professor, and you become a name instead of a number. So now he knows your face. So when I go and I talk with my teachers, like after class or something, now when I'm in class, they look at me and they'll say my name in class. I'm like, whoa. But I know that they know who I am now, which is good. Coffee? Who doesn't like coffee? At least, who doesn't like hanging out in a coffee shop? It's a great place to just hang out, relax, catch up with someone. Clubs on campus like they were talking about, you can reach out to a lot of people. Spanish Club is one of the ones I was looking at just to kind of push out my network a little bit more. LinkedIn, like I was talking about, is a great way. I've actually had people reach out to me. I don't even know what their companies were before they reach out to me, but I've had them send me letters and things like that on LinkedIn. And then informational interviews. These are things that can go either way. Sometimes you can ask for them, sometimes they'll ask you for them. So when I'm still interviewing with Northwestern Mutual right now, and my first interview was an informational interview. They had me come in and I just sat down, but it was me, one other guy, and then the recruiter. And all it was informational. We asked all the questions, she answered what we asked, and that was about it. That's just another good way to start developing those relationships and get to know the company or that person a little bit better.
And with office hours, even if you're in a 200-something people class, you would be surprised at how few people actually go to the office hours. Last year in physics 205, I was in a class of 164. I went to the office hours every other week, and there was usually no one else there. It's really interesting.
And another crazy thing is, when you remember someone's name, that goes a really long way. I had a professor on campus for geology. He memorized every kid in our class's name. This is like a 100-person class or so. He was the first day of class, he was just walking up, calling you by name. walk to the other side of the room, call you by name. It was incredible. And anybody who sits in that class will not forget his class because of that.
So as far as cultivating those relationships after you've started them, you need to keep up with them. Maybe every month or so you send them an email, be like, hey, I still exist. Maybe send them an article you think they'd be interested in. I know for my current physics professor, Dr. Countryman, we've gotten to the point in our relationship where I will actually send her physics-related memes, and she always loves them. And so you obviously don't start out with that. Start out with a nice email, and as it progresses, you learn their personality type. Like, I'm not going to send every professor memes. It's just not a good idea. Don't do that. But so the next one is social media, and by that we do not mean Snapchat or like Instagram. We mean the more business social medias like LinkedIn, where you can send them messages or email, things like that. Some companies have Twitter accounts that you can go on and follow, and if you just occasionally like, they're going to be like, oh, this person's keeping up with what I'm posting. A big one is in person. When you start going to the office hours, keep up with those office hours, or just saying hi to them at the beginning or after class, just catching up every once in a while. And then living generously. If you give them maybe like a thank you note as a token of appreciation, they're going to remember that for a long time. It's a nice personalized short little thing that you can do that will make you stand out a lot. So,
And
go ahead.
do you want to go first? I was just going to say, tagging off that's kind of something you can tie into like thank you letters. So if you go and you interview somebody, you want to send a thank you letter. That's very, very important. Sometimes they won't even extend you the job if you don't send a thank you letter. So it's good to be able to put something in there that's personal, like, oh, we talked about this and this in an interview, or something like that. And then you can send that back to them, and it shows them that you care, you're paying attention to what they were saying, and you're really passionate about that job.
Going off of what Claire was saying earlier about going in person and keeping these relationships up, I had an English teacher my freshman year of high school. This past spring break, I got to see her and tell her all about what I was doing, how I'm going to study abroad this year, what I'm majoring in, and her excitement was beyond everything. She ended up emailing me telling me she went back to her class and told all of her students how much her previous student had done. So it really does make their day to keep up. Before I left high school, I gave her a thank you letter, and I personalized it by getting a card of a dress because she liked to make her own dresses, and wrote a little quick sentence about how I was grateful for her mentorship and sad to be leaving, but I'm glad I'm going because I'm going further. So little things really do matter. And I wrote a blog post on this at the CDC blog. So if forever you're out of lunch or anything like that, go ahead and check out our blog too, because we do have a lot of posts that SCAs and other people write. And this is just, yes, this is just one example of that.
So one of the big things are appearances. You should conduct yourself in a professional manner, especially around someone that you might potentially get a reference from. This is maybe in class you need to be engaged and attentive. You need to not dress in baggy shorts and like holey clothes every day. Every once in a while, step up your game a little bit, look nice. Dress for success. Do not be like Business Cat. Do not knock things off of your desk. It's not a good idea. He is dressed very nice though, so that's a good thing. So your professors are going to remember which ones of you are looking like this and which ones of you are falling asleep in class. Your professors dedicating their lives to teaching people. They don't want to see people falling asleep or not paying attention, being on their phones. It's just not nice to the professor. And even if maybe you're not getting as much from the lecture as you want, at least step it up while you're there, and then outside of class, look at some notes and things.
So this is an example of what your recommender, the person you asked to recommend, will be asked about you. This one came from actually Marcy in the back over there, who was asked herself this for someone that was asking for her recommendation. So some things, there's written ability, motivation and drive, problem-solving ability, leadership, teaching potential, but there's also personal hygiene, confidence levels, ability to work with others, so teamwork, communication as well. There's a lot of things that go into your appearance other than how you dress, and you want to make sure they're all coming off nicely. So another thing in keeping professional is email etiquette. You don't want to use slang. It's just not necessary at this point. When you're sending an email, just write it all out. In all honesty, on my phone, Google corrects me anyways, so it's not like it's too hard to do. Keep your messages short and to the point. Your professors or whoever you're asking for a recommendation has a lot of emails, and they kind of just want to get to the point and figure out what you're asking for so that they don't have to fill fluff or anything like this. This is not a 5th grade essay. You don't want fluff in this. Give them time to respond. Like I said, there's a lot of emails. They may not reply immediately. They may. And if they do respond, reply back to them in a very timely manner.
So something that I didn't know previously is that you should make sure that you're using the proper title, like is it a miss, a Mrs., a Mr., a doctor, and that all that takes is just looking up the professor on the NCSU website, and you can find out whether or not they have a doctorate. And so you just put the doctor on there, and everything's fine.
Always read it out loud back to yourself when you're done, because Google and your Gmail will look for the words that are spelled incorrectly, but they don't do grammar. And once you send that, it's gone. So, read it out loud to yourself, because when you actually hear it, you'll pick up on those things a little bit more. Read it backwards, you'll pick up on some of those words that are maybe misspelled that it may not pick up on. And back there saying about let them respond, I actually spoke with a guy trying to get him to bring his food truck out to our philanthropy event. He was like, yeah man, I'm at lunch, I'll look at my calendar as soon as I get back and I'll email you. It took him about 7 hours to do that. I don't know if he was having lunch in like West Virginia. He just got done on the ski slope or something, but it took him that long. I could have called him again, bothered him, but he probably wouldn't have liked that, and that wouldn't have left a very good image of me in his head. So I just kind of let it play out a little bit.